Well, here we are again, are we not? Yes, yes. We're having tons of problems in the world. We've got policing problems, war problems, we've got financial problems, banking problems, we've got protester problems, right? We've got currency problems, we've got jobs reports problems, we have infrastructure problems. Is there one section of this world where things are getting better? Well, maybe the air is cleaner, right? Oh, wait a minute, we've got problems there too, right? Because Tesla can't seem to keep their shit straight. But this video isn't about picking on Tesla. Instead, I'm going to pick on the way things are run. I've got a couple news articles. HSBC, that's the Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation, right? They have ousted abruptly their CEO, John Flint, a white guy. They've kicked him out. Or did they fire him? Or has he resigned? Is there writing on the wall? Did they hand him his hat and show him the door? Who knows, right? But not only have they said they're going to get rid of him, they need somebody else, but they're going to cut roughly 2%, 4,000 jobs from its global workforce, right? Now, the guy was there for 18 months, this John Flint fellow, and he's leaving because the board wants to take a different approach on growth, resource allocation, and execution. How does a bank grow? It's not like a farm where you grow food or you grow more of it and that's your overall growth year to year. They don't grow anything. What do banks do? Seriously, banks are like governments. They lend money, they take money, they offer some service and they charge a fee, but they don't really grow. So how can they grow? Resource allocation, right? What are they going to buy and sell? What are they going to buy and sell? And execution, that means doing stuff. They need to learn how to grow by doing stuff, by getting stuff. Banks get stuff by charging fees and lending money. If the economies are slowing down, housing, automobile, industrial, manufacturing, farming, mining, if we're seeing contractions in any of those sectors, it means they're not going to be able to lend as much. Let's try this. Maybe they need to stop charging so much so that people can borrow more. Well, they just lowered rates, did they not? Did not the Federal Reserve in America lower rates? Well, that quarter point is a big deal to a bank. It represents about, I don't know, let's just say 15%. They saw a 15% reduction in what they're going to have to pay the banks to borrow money from the central bank so that now the bank institutions can lend to other banks and to users. Now, if you've got a credit card and you're making 18% a month or 15% a month interest payments, if you lose a quarter of a point, you're not seeing a 15% reduction in what it costs you to use that money. Right? You're seeing what? A quarter? You're seeing less than 2% reduction. If that. That's not going to spur people into using more credit and going into more debt that they can't afford already. Right? So the banking, it's a sham. Everything is a sham. And speaking of shams, Trump slams China's currency manipulation after the People's Bank of China, which is their Federal Reserve, denies competitive devaluation. They're denying that they're devaluing their currency, right? But President Trump has escalated the rhetoric against Chinese interventionist lack of intervention, blasting China dropped the price of their currency to an almost historic low, it's called currency manipulation. Isn't that what Trump said he wanted to do just last week? Yeah, he did. He's been saying it for a while. He needs to devalue the dollar or make the dollar look weaker so that it gives us a trade, a business advantage. So, if it's good for us and we want a business advantage, doesn't it make sense that the EU and their central bank and the Chinese central bank could do the same thing? If they want a bigger advantage, shouldn't they do this? Well, it's not fair. It's not fair because we have rules, right? Recently, some new situations have emerged in the international economic situation, and trade frictions and market expectations have also undergone some changes. Right? In other words, right, they have rules. It's like rules of war. All is fair in love and war. It's incredible to me that there's an expectation that other countries will play fair. In war, you kill people and blow things up. In business, you take over business and make profit, etc. It's all fair. If we lower ours 5 points and they want to lower theirs 10 points, you can't scream that's unfair. They're looking for advantage. They're trying to win this trade war. It's a war, trade war. And so claiming and bitching and pissing and moaning about what they're doing doesn't, the PBOC is not going to say, oh, sorry about that. We didn't see it that way. It was a mistake on our part. Is it Trump saying, hey, look, they're ratcheting up the currency war, so we need to do it as well? There's our justification for the takedown of the American dollar in value. It depreciates. Is that why Trump is doing this? My answer is yes. That's why he's doing it. He's letting us know we're escalating the trade war. I mean, Trump just raised tariffs. China's going, hey, you raised your tariffs, we want to raise ours. Not fair. Right, it's not fair. Or rather, we should say, it hurts when you go to war. Ouch, Trump just raised tariffs. That hurts. China just devalued the yuan, the renminbi. They just made their currency more painful to us. War is about pain and loss and suffering and beating the enemy. Because we're not treating people like allies, are we? No, we tend to treat them like enemies, and they tend to treat us like an enemy instead of an ally. Nations and nation states and blocks of nations hurt other nations. We take advantage of China's cheap labor. That hurts the Chinese laborer. But we think it's just fine because we drive around with air conditioning and we have fine clothing that's made in third world countries with slave labor. This is important to shit hitting the fan because it is escalating, right? The protests from one nation to another are being ignored. Handily and readily, are they not? They don't care as long as they're winning the war. Governments take from their people as long as they win over the people and control the people. Everyone wants to win the game and they want to complain when they're losing. Ultimately, this all leads to shit hitting the fan. Right? Because they're hurting trade, they're hurting business, they're hurting us with taxation. Everyone is being hurt. And we're not creating more. Just like HSBC is looking for growth. Where can we find growth? What resources can we allocate? When, how are we going to execute our plan? All the banks are losing. They're going bad. We're having serious banking problems this week. At some point, there's going to be the announcement. But this affects government's tax revenue, which is how government likes to spend money on entitlements to buy votes and to ensure that their buddies in business in the military-industrial complex get their cash. So what has the government in the United States been doing? They've been going into debt, deficit spending to the tune of over $1 trillion a year now. And that's just what they're telling us about, because they don't have to show us the books anymore. They can't be held accountable. It is now a national security measure to tell us the truth. It's funny how the truth is compromised by the need for national security, meaning they're probably doing something that would upset us. So therefore they can't tell us because it's national security. They need to maintain their power, their grip. So banks are going out. HSBC, American banks are being hurt. European banks. What do you think this is going to do when it all comes crumbling down? It's a serious question. Right? Shit is going to hit the fan. Economically, businesses are going to hurt. Banks are going to be hurt. HSBC is laying people off. Deutsche Bank is laying people off. Other banks are laying people off. They're closing trading desks. They're firing people in investment firms because they're not needed. They're doing more computer trading. And they want to keep the profits for themselves at the top and get rid of the workers down low. That's right. These desk traders, they're just doing a job. They're screwing people out of their money in order for them to make an income, but they're losing their job because now they can have computers do it for them. Absolutely fascinating. You need to have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. Go to the preparedmind.club. Get your books, reference works. Get your preps. Get it together. These people are bringing the system down. Trade wars often lead to martial wars, military wars. Trade wars often lead to recessions and depressions, and then war. Trade war leads to civil unrest because it affects economies. It affects economies. Military and police, law enforcement are used by governments to maintain control of their people in times of difficulty, because the government's job is not to serve us, but to maintain their control and increase their power. That's their job. And if it wasn't their job, why do they do it every day? That's what they do all day, is maintain their control or increase their power. They don't give up control and lose power. They increase power and control. And when we have hard times shit hitting the fan, the government doesn't give up and go, whoops, sorry. They become more tight-fisted and iron-fisted. So you need to be prepared, because it is coming, right? These people are coming after us. You guys, be cool. Semper Fi. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. More big news coming. Watch the news. Understand it. Learn from these people and understand you have to get prepared. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.